Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Canobie Coaster 48,000 subscriber live stream. As always, thank you for your support and just shoot me a message down below if you can hear me. Haven't had audio issues in a while, so hopefully that stays the same. I see quite a few people in the chat already. See QB Sports Productions, Jaden Herbert, Roller Coaster Pretty Cool, Coaster Filmer. Those are the ones I see, but I'm sure more people will trickle in. So Jaden Herbert, have you been to Niagara Falls? Yep, I've been there a few times, try to go every few years, considering it's like, what, a 7-hour drive for me? Cats are doing well, just banned from here so they don't cause any issues with the cords. Um, then favorite rides at Cedar Point, I have a whole countdown going over those. Steel Vengeance is my personal favorite there. Haven't been since Top Thrill 2 or Siren's Curse open, though. Coaster Filmer, this might be a hard question to answer. When are you going to Australia again? I don't have any immediate plans to go there. Um, Definitely want to go back. I just don't know when it'll be. Jaden Herbert, are you planning to go to Hershey Park? Yeah, I'll definitely go. I typically go a few times every year. Uh, Roller coaster, pretty cool. What are your thoughts on He's Amusement Park closing? Sad to see that little park close, but I understand because the owners are retiring and they're the ones who maintained at least Switchback. Um, Hello, 61 Coasters. Hello, Express Thrills. Hello, FPCMG. Hello, Vertical Loop. Hello, Dicronius. Mike VR, do you like Penguin Trek at SeaWorld Orlando? So I actually haven't been on that coaster yet. I hope to get on that whenever I go down for Epic Universe. Interfaceman, thank you for streaming a bit earlier so us Europeans can tune in. Yeah, I know typically I do it on weeknights at like, what, 8 o'clock, which would be like, what, 1 or 2 o'clock, 1 or 2 a.m. for Europeans. I know it's not the most convenient, but typically that's what works best for me, but I'm glad I found a time that worked for more people. Hello, Matt Prunty. Who counts us? Do you know that Parque Warner Madrid is about to get a new theme area, hotels, and they're going to add new slides in the water park? I hadn't heard about that, but that makes sense considering how hot it is. Their water park needs more capacity, and it's a big enough park that it warrants a hotel. Express Thrill, Express Thrills. After a bit more time, do you like Hakuge or Airy Force more? I think I prefer Airy Force, but it's close. Roller Coasters with Charlie. Legend has ejector airtime moments that come back if you sit in the back row, and stronger than Raven's fifth drop. That just says strong flagector. I think Raven's fifth drop is stronger than any airtime moment on Legend, but that Camelback, that Bunny Hill on Legend around the turnaround is really, really good. Fierce Abueda, will there be re-reviews for some of the coasters in Japan, including Ejinika? How many parks did you visit this trip? Um, I'm trying to think which ones I already did reviews for in Japan. I think it would have been Flying Dinosaur and Enginica. I don't anticipate doing a re-review because my thoughts on those rides are pretty much the same as what they were previously. I'd rather focus on some of the new ones. As for number of parks to visit, I want to say it was probably 6 to 8, somewhere in that ballpark. Coaster stats, favorite country for theme parks. This might be cheating, but I'll say the USA. Just the sheer quantity and variety here is amazing. Thrills have a beard. Do you have a current most anticipated new credit? Of the ones open, it's probably Stardust Racers. I love dueling coasters, and that ride looks to have a ton of airtime. Dicronius. I rode Flash Coaster last week as top 3 in the Iberian Peninsula. Must ride for sure. Lots of hang time. Um, which Flash are you referring to? Is that the Chinese one? The Hyper Coaster? Um, oh, sorry. I didn't realize that was the name of the new mock coaster at Aqua Show. I thought it was like Caraco or something like that, or Faraco or something like that. Yeah, that coaster looks really cool. Hope to visit at some point because it looks to have a ton of hang time, like you said, in those inversions. Vertical Loop. I have not been on Siren's Curse yet. I'm hoping to get to Cedar Point by the end of the year. Brian Basil, you recently went to P&E Playland. The seatbelts and coaster are annoying, but if you leave slack in them by pulling on them before dispatching and holding them the entire ride, it's not too bad. Yeah, I want to get back on that coaster, but I also know I probably won't like it as much with the seatbelts. That whole factor of feeling like you get completely ejected is what made the ride special to me. Hello, Craftable Jake. Interfacement, furthest you've traveled a day trip to a theme park. I've done Lagoon on a day trip, which included a flight, so that probably wins. In terms of driving, I've done Busch Gardens, Williamsburg on a day trip, which was quite a drive. Mike VR, best launch coaster in California. Um, so the best launch in California is definitely Accelerator. But in terms of the overall coaster with a launch, let's see, it would be Incredicoaster, Full Throttle, West Coast. I'd go with West Coast Racers. I really like the dueling element. And the elements in that ride are pretty good too. Um, Roller coasters are pretty cool. Do you think any other Six Flags parks could close in the immediate future? I've said this before, but Frontier City is the one I'm most worried about, given they've slashed their hours this year. Um, maybe they sell that one out rather than outright closing it, but I don't see them operating that park long term. Coaster Filmer, are you looking forward to the new expansion Epic Universe and the new Intamin roller coaster coming to Universal Studios Orlando? Yeah, the new stuff Universal's been coming out with has been great, so I welcome any new additions they're cooking up. Jaden Herbert, do you like Big Bear Mountain at Dollywood? Yeah, it's a really good family coaster. Fire Chaser's still my favorite of the family coasters there, but Big Bear is a great ride too. Roller coasters with Charlie. You went to Holiday World last Saturday, and the Voyage had the queue building full. That's pretty rare from what I understand outside of, like, Hollywood Nights. I'm sure the ride was still worth it, though. I mean, that's one of the best coasters out there. Craftable Jake, if you can fix one of the worst coasters on your top 25 worst coasters, which coaster would you fix and why? So, I'll say, Blue Tornado, just give it the vest restraints that the other SLCs have gotten, because that's a pretty easy fix to make, and it makes a huge difference. Mike VR, best coaster in Virginia. I will go with Intimidator 305, aka Project 305, aka Pantherian. I know it hasn't run yet this year, but I just love its sheer intensity. Lucy Bullock, have you ridden Corsair in the French Fair Circuit? It's the pirate ship with the stand up cages. The airtime looks insane. I have not ridden that one. There was one I rode in Belgium that was a stand up swinging ship. I'm trying to look up what the name of it was. I think it was like Pirate Party or something like that. Um, Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what it was called. Yeah, Pirate Party. Definitely a very weird sensation standing up on a swinging ship. I don't think it was as crazy as Corsair, but still having that freedom was something you'd never get in the US. Express Thrills. Is Disney Sea the best park in the world? I prefer the original Disneyland. That's my favorite park, but Disney Sea is definitely up there with all the after my return trip. First time I went, Journey to the Center of the Earth was closed for refurb, and then they've had Fantasy Springs since then, so that park moved up quite a bit for me. Uh, Barcelona, do you think Niagara is getting the shuttle loop? I hope so, but it's been a while since I've seen some activity with that, so I'm a little skeptical at this point. Mike VR, what is a coaster I should ride generally in the USA? I mean, go to Cedar Point. They have a ton of amazing coasters there. 61 coasters, worst flight you have been on. The one that comes to mind is I don't know if you remember the airplane company AirTran, but it was Tropical Storm Faye was hitting Florida, and pretty much every single airline canceled that day, except AirTran didn't cancel. So we showed up to the airport. Then we get a notification the flight was delayed. So we were like, "Oh, yep, here it comes. They're gonna cancel." Nope, they took off, flew down to Florida, and as we're approaching Florida, they just come over the PA system on the plane, and just say there will be extreme turbulence. No one can get up, and very bumpy ride coming in. But when we got to Disney, no one was there because no one else was crazy enough to fly in. Coaster stats. I prefer Steel Vengeance to Iron Gwazi because of the length. Um, sorry, else I spot? Shem the Grace Hopper, top three first drops to date. Hyperia and Iron Gwazi are the two. Sorry, Hyperia and Iron Rattler are the two that come to mind. I'm trying to think what the third one would be. I know I made a video ranking my favorite first drops, so that probably has what number three would be. I think I made that before I wrote Hyperia, so just put Hyperia at the top and push the other ones down down a spot. Jaden Herbert, Alpenfury Canada's Wonderland looks pretty cool. Yeah, that's a really nice coaster, a perfect fit for that park, minus the capacity. Express Thrills. If you could choose three major coasters in the USA to ride this year, what would they be? You've been on Gwazi, Velocicoaster, Airy Force, and Stardust. Um, so I'd say Voyage, Steel Vengeance, and if you're in the area, Shivering Timbers is another amazing wood coaster. You love that ride too. Barcelona. Have you heard that Flash at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom reopened? Yeah, I'm glad that ride reopened. I was worried it would never reopen, so we'll see how long it stays operational this time. Hello, Ride Rush Adventures. Vertical Loop. I hear Alpine Fury compares to Maverick, and it's just as intense or more intense than Maverick. And I just can't see it. Is it really as intense as Maverick? Um, Alpine Fury is definitely an intense ride because you have so many inversions in quick succession. Um, I probably think Maverick's a little more intense, because the individual forces that ride offers, especially in the positive G department and those whippy transitions are wilder than what Alpenfury has, but Alpenfury is definitely a really wild ride. Interfacement, next week you're visiting Phantasialand, Plopsland, Dutchland, Deutschland, Europa Park, and Park Asterix. Any tips? So I have individual reviews for those parks. They'll go way more in depth than I can go here. For Europa Park, use the virtual queue. That'll help, for a lot of the rides there. They also have single rider lines. I'll save a lot of time. Park Asterix. Um, if you want to get the Max, skip the line pass, buy it the day before because they will sell out of it, and they won't even offer it the day of for the highest tier. Um, Phantasialand. Um, Black Mamba opens 1 hour before the park. So the park opens at 9. They say the rides start running at 10, but Black Mamba will start running at 9. So I'd say do that one first, because you basically get an hour bonus time on it. Alex Wilcoxon, I saw you yesterday at Six Flags New England in the food line. What did you think of the operations at Six Flags New England? So I mainly just rode Superman and Wicked Cyclone yesterday, but those crews were moving the trains at a good rate for those rides. Yeah, that's main stuff I did at that park, but I was pleasantly surprised with both those crews. Jaden Herbert, you like Top Thrill too? It was intense. Yeah, I've heard very good things about that ride. Definitely want to get on it. Express Thrills. If you had to choose, would you only rather ride Voyage, Untamed, or Airy Force Forever? Of those, probably Voyage, but I'd be content riding any of those three. Mike VR, will Alpine Fury become your best coaster in Canada? So right now, my favorite coaster in Canada is Coaster at Peony Playland, but I haven't ridden that since they removed the seatbelts. Sorry, since they added the seatbelts. Um, but even if that ride were to drop, I think I might still prefer Leviathan ever so slightly to Alpine Fury, but it's close. And I also like Goliath at Laurent that I might like better than those anything at Canada's Wonderland anyway. 61 coasters. Have you heard SeaWorld San Antonio is getting a new roller coaster? Yeah, I heard I heard they're getting a family invert, so hopefully it'll be a nice addition. Up, thanks, Ride Rush Adventures for the super chat. Thanks for the £2. Yeah, I don't see a question there, but just thank you for the support. Ride Rush Adventures, just subscribe. Watching from the UK. Yeah, I mean UK is a great country to visit. Really enjoy their parks. Uh, Coaster Filmer, what Cedar Fair park do you see closing next for me? It would be Michigan's Adventure or Valley Fair. It's hard to say of the original Cedar Fair parks. Maybe they'll dump on the water parks, but From what I understand, those smaller parks are fairly profitable because they get crowds even without major investments. Um, Alex Maxwell, I wrote Alpine Fury 4 times yesterday. It was 9 out of 10 intensity for me for sure. Yeah, like I said, those inversions are super disorienting on the ride. Jaden Herbert, I have not been to the Merriweather Post Pavilion. Express Thrills, Disney sees Indiana Jones or Rise of the Resistance. I'll go with Rise of the Resistance. I just absolutely love how ambitious that ride is, and I like the effects on it and the little thrill elements mixed in. Ride Rush Adventures. Thoughts on Universal Bedfordshire? Sorry if I butchered the name of that. Um, so I'm really excited to see another ground up Universal park. They've been killing it with their new additions. That what looks like a Back to the Future coaster looks really interesting, and then if they get a Jurassic World clone, that's amazing because that ride I've heard amazing things of it over in China. Mike VR opinions on the Toy Story Mania clones. They're some of my favorite shooters out there. I absolutely just love the ride system, and it's just an addictive ride. Vertical Loop. I found Cedar Point too compact. I didn't like it, specifically near Rougarou, Top Thrill 2, and Iron Dragon. I love the park. I wouldn't say Cedar Point feels compact. That's a pretty big park. They're definitely dense, though. Express Thrills, top bucket list dark rides in the world. Sorry, top bucket list dark ride in the world. I just mentioned it, but the Jurassic World dark ride that's at Universal Beijing, that looks incredible with the dinosaur animatronics how they chase after the vehicle. 61 coasters. What do you think the new ride is going to be for 2027 at Six Flags Fiesta? I honestly don't have a good idea what they could be adding next. Hopefully something nice. Maybe a family coaster to replace Kid Flash. Crazy cool coasters. Have you ever gooned at a theme park? I don't know what that means, so I can't say if I have or not. Adrenaline Legends. How strong would you say Mindbusters airtime is? So the pre-cut track they add to that ride is amazing. That outward leg is really really good now. It's good floater airtime. The return run is really iffy right now, especially that helix though. Uh, okay, Boomer yaps about coasters. What do you think the best CCI wood coaster ever made is? I would go with Shivering Timbers, but Boulder Dash is really close. Boulder Dash has that amazing setting, but Shivering Timbers is hard to beat for the sheer quantity of airtime. Lucy Bullock, do you think Skyline will ever build another coaster? I think so, but it probably won't be at the Six Flags chain. Jaden Herbert, are you visiting Six Flags America because it's closing? So I've been to that park several times through the years. I've had pretty good experiences there. I'm not sure if I'm going to visit this year because I've heard a lot of stuff has been closed, particularly like the whole back area on weekdays lately. If I go, I want to make sure stuff is open. So maybe I'll go on like a weekend, but um, you know, I'm content with the last visit I had there. It's sad if Wild One and Superman close, but again, I have been there. I've had good experiences. I kind of don't want to taint my last visits there. Crazy cool coasters. Yes, I like Cedar Point. One of the best pure amusement parks out there. Express Thrills is your favorite dark ride better than your favorite coaster? It is. I prefer Lightning Rod over Rise of the Resistance, but Rise is better than most coasters out there. Poke Chef, congrats. Plans for traveling to the Middle East? I don't have any immediate plans to go there. Definitely won't get back to Dubai at some point, though. Brandon Basil, is Alpenfury top three in Canada and Premier's best coaster? I would say Alpenfury is top five in Canada. Currently, I prefer Peony's coaster, but again, I have not ridden that since they added the seatbelts. I probably prefer Goliath at La Ronde and Leviathan, so I think I have it at number four, unless I'm forgetting something. Vertical Loop. What do you think of the B&M Giga Dive coming to Six Flags over Texas? I'm really excited to see a dive coaster that big, but I just pray it's smooth. So like Wrath of Rakshasa, I rode that a few weeks ago, and the back edge seats were really, really bad. Um, and they like, I rode Yukon Striker recently, and that ride's really smooth in all seats. So I really hope they can make it as smooth as Yukon Striker, but I'm a little skeptical based off their newest coasters. Adrenaline Legends, you're visiting Busch Gardens Tampa in December and SeaWorld Orlando. Any tips? Are you going during like around Christmas time? If so, it'll be absolutely slammed. If you're going earlier in the month, hopefully won't be too bad. Sorry, I lost my spot. Just trying to figure out where I was. Finnegan in the AM. Are you planning on visiting another Great Wolf Lodge location? I definitely will. Some of their newer ones seem like they've copy and pasted the exact layout and slides between them. So if I go to another, it'll be one that's has a little bit of uniqueness to it. Typically, I go to them if the hours are longer than the amusement parks in the area. Interfacement, favorite country for food. Um, this might be cheating. I'll say the United States just because I know where the best places are. But Germany's another place that has really good food. Cool, crazy coasters. I remember meeting you at Nagashima Spa Land. It was great to chat with you. Yeah, I mean Nagashima is an amazing park, and it's always nice to run into people even on the other side of the world. Okay, Boomer Yapso coasters. Oh, I already got that question. Sorry. Alex Maxwell, best new coasters of 2025. Alpine Fury is the best of the ones I've ridden so far. Stardust Racers looks like it could probably be the best one I'll get on. And then you have Falcon's Flight, which I'm not going to be riding that this year, but that ride looks incredible and truly one of a kind. Adrenaline Legends, any tips to start a coaster channel? Make videos you enjoy doing. I do this as a hobby, and you should do it in that as well. Vertical Loop, why do you think all the Intamin straddle coasters are SPNO? So, Dark Coaster and I believe Wavebreaker just reopened. This would have been like a day or two ago. From what I heard, it probably was something to do with the restraints. So if anyone has ridden Dark Coaster or Wavebreaker in the past, 24 hours, I'd love to know if the restraints look a little different. Cool, crazy coasters. Thoughts on B&M Hypercoaster at Alton Towers? They could build some taller trees so the hypercoaster is still below the tree line. So I know they have that giant drop off in the gardens area, but I don't know if they can build back there. I'd love a hypercoaster there. They probably have the money for it, but I just don't see them getting approved to build something like that, unfortunately. Alex Wilcoxon, do you know what's going on at the front corner of Six Flags New England? The train ride and the whole section was closed off. So my thought is eventually they're going to turn that into a separate entrance for the water park. The reason being they moved the security checkpoint back to where the old entrance was. So the security checkpoint's underneath the Six Flags New England sign. I'm almost wondering if they're going to make a plaza at that point that you can access out of the amusement park or the water park from there. Um, that's what I almost feel like they're going to eventually do. Lucy Bullock, favorite UK theme park. So this might be a hot take, but I think I actually like Blackpool Pleasure Beach best. I love the setting. I just love the mix of old and new rides, and I just have a really good visit at that park. Alton Towers is definitely up there, but um, I've had a lot of operational issues at that park in recent visits where so much has been closed. Adrenaline Legends. Also, any idea how the Stengel Dive and Alpen Fury pre-second launch manages to give decent ejector? I was shocked by how much it yoinked me in the air. Yeah, I was definitely surprised by how good that dip into the mountain was as well. I was expecting, just a filler element, but that had some really good ejector air time. Theme parks and me. Racers looks amazing. I have not ridden it yet. Hope to by the end of the year, though. Alex Maxwell, that first launch in Alpen Fury makes me literally stand up. Doesn't make me stand up, but the dip afterwards has really good ejector air time. Cool, crazy coasters. Nicest theme park toilets you've experienced. So I will go with Tokyo Joypolis. They turned the urinal into an arcade game. Basically, the more urine you let out, the more damage you do to a boss that's on a screen above the toilet. It was pretty funny to see, and I just enjoyed how strange it was. Express Thrills. Where do you think the next iBox coaster will be? I have no clue where the next one will be. I hope one's built soon, but I don't have any inkling where it could go. I'm really sorry. Roller coasters, Charlie. Do you have any children? No, but I have two cats. Coaster stats. What's your most unpopular opinion on a roller coaster? This is one that's pretty unpopular. I actually prefer the U bricks on Superman the Ride over the T bars. Just the way the U bricks fit on my body, I find they offer more room than the old T bars ever did. But I know that that's a very I'm in the minority saying that. Shem the Grace Hopper, as inversion record holders, how do Alpenfury Steel Curtain compare to Smiler for intensity? Steel Curtain's the least intense of those three. I would say Alpenfury is pretty similar to Smiler in the sense that it's just disorienting having so many inversions in a row. Vertical loop. Have you ever accidentally broken a rule at a theme park, like for example, putting your hands up on a ride when you weren't supposed to? Um, yeah, I mean, as a kid, like on those kiddie swings, I remember I used to kick those around a lot more than you were supposed to. But typically, I try to follow the rules, especially because the crews are usually pretty good at spotting things if you're doing something you shouldn't. Jaden Herbert, I rode the floorless coaster at Cedar Point and it was amazing. So I'm Ruger's decent. It's not one of my favorite coasters, but it's a nice supporting ride at that park, especially because it almost never has a wait. Crazy coasters. Will Arrow ever make another hyper coaster? Since they're out of business, I'm going to go with no. Mike VR, best drop on Arrow Looper for airtime. Um, I love Tennessee Tornadoes drop because it goes in the tunnel, so I'll say that one. There might be some others, like for example, Demon at Six Flags Great America that has a more violent jolt of airtime, but I just like Tennessee Tornadoes best. Okay, Boomers, the apps about coasters. Which coaster designer is better, Alan Schilke or Werner Stengel of Schwarzkopf? Both are amazing in their own way. I like what Alan Schilke did by jam packing as much airtime in rapid fire succession with RMCs, and he also made some really good designs with Aero as well. Adrenaline Legends. The Helix tried to make my brains pop out of my head. My friend keeps trying to convince me Mindbuster is the best. Yeah, they need to do something about that Helix. That Helix is really violent. Jaden Herbert, best PTC coaster you've been on. I'm gonna go with Phoenix at Knobles. Cool, crazy coasters. How much money is your typical haircut cost? I think I pay about $20 per haircut. Vertical loop. If you're ever in the Dallas area, there's this little water park in Denton called Waterworks. Probably the most intense water slide in Texas. I haven't heard of that place, but I'll have to look it up. Express Thrills. Do you ever think you'll go to China? I plan to go eventually, just don't know when it'll be. The big thing I want to go to there is Disney to get to all the Disney parks. Coaster Filmer. What ride do you think SeaWorld Orlando for the rumored mock striker, and which ride is getting replaced by the Giga at Busch Gardens Tampa? I hadn't heard about SeaWorld Orlando getting a mock striker, but I'd love to see one go there. As for what ride gets replaced by the Giga at Busch Gardens Tampa, if the rumored location is behind Kumba, hypothetically, they wouldn't have to remove anything. But I am a little worried about Kumba considering how long that ride has been closed at this point. It's been almost a year, right? Sorry, something in my eye. Adrenaline Legends. I did a Yukon back row. Actually, had a little bit of a shuffle, unfortunately, but still glass smooth. Yeah, I rode in the back for all my rides last week, and I still found it really smooth. It's not flawlessly glass smooth, but it's definitely very smooth. Vertical loop. Doctor Diabolical is getting rough. Why do you think newer B&Ms are getting rough so soon? So, two questions about that. Did you ride on the back edge, and was the train fairly empty? So, with B&Ms, they tend to have a shuffle if the train isn't fully loaded. I noticed that with Kraken and SeaWorld Orlando in particular, but I've seen it with like Superman at Fiesta Texas as well. Um, and then the wing seats on that, I say wing, The back edge on that ride always has had a bit of a shuffle to it. My thought is they changed some component in the trains that made it cheaper or more standardized, but I don't know for sure. Jaden Herbert, have you ridden Blue Streak at Cedar Point? Yeah, I have a whole review on nice classic coaster. Express Thrills, favorite dark ride system. I'm a sucker for trackless dark rides. Just a really cool element when they actually take advantage of it. Adrenaline Legends, can you please make a video of the strongest airtime moments and your favorite airtime moments? I'll consider it. I know that one's just really tough to do because that kind of combines drops and other bunny hills, and I might repeat the same ride over and over. But I'll look into maybe doing it. Coaster stats: favorite German coaster and favorite German food. So I love a good Spätzle for food. For favorite German coaster, um, trying to remember what would be the top one in that country. Um, Sorry, I'm trying to cheat and look at my list. Oh, Voltron at Europa Park. Just love how fast paced that ride is, and some cool theming as well as good forces. Jaden Herbert, the soundtrack in Siren's Curse is awesome. I haven't heard it yet, but I've heard it's pretty good. Yori, have you gotten a chance to experience Yoi at Wallaby Holland already? Yes, I rode Yoi. Very interesting ride. I like the dueling element and some fun forces. Not as intense as the other single rails, but a good ride. I'll probably have a review on that one in the next 2 weeks or so. Express Thrills, Best Indiana Jones, Disneyland or Disney Sea? I like Disneyland's better, just because I find the ride system's a little rowdier, but Disney Sea probably beats it ever so slightly for effects. Adrenaline Legends, is Icebreaker's airtime stronger than Alpine Fury's? I would say Icebreaker has stronger airtime than Alpine Fury. Alpine Fury is a better ride, though. It is weird how you get the airtime in Alpine Fury, and it's weird in a good way. Roller coasters with Charlie. Tips are recording footage at amusement parks of the roller coasters. Um, Try to get unique angles. Because there's a lot of footage out there already. So get the shots you want that'll support a video you're trying to make. Cool, crazy coasters. Number one bucket list coaster in Africa, not counting South Africa. Um, See, that last part kind of shoots me in the foot because I would have said Anaconda or Tower of Terror. I'm not quite sure what my number one would be outside of that country. I'm really sorry. Vertical loop. Maybe I'll say that Jinma inverted coaster in Egypt that I heard is actually pretty decent, but I'm not too knowledgeable on the topic. Vertical loop. Worst coaster you had high expectations for. Um, that's a tough one. Usually I go in with reasonable expectations for rides, so I'm not usually severely let down. Um, yeah, I'm really struggling to think of one for that. Sorry. Jaden Herbert, favorite onboard audio soundtrack on a roller coaster. Um, Trying to think of which one's on board. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy. That one's just a really fun soundtrack. I know it's using songs that are already out there, but still enjoy how it's implemented. Lucy Bullock, favorite water ride outside Disney or Universal. Um, Unless I'm forgetting one, Chiapas would probably be up there. Absolutely love. Just trying to pull up my list to make sure I'm not forgetting one. Um, See, Valhalla, if every single effect works, is probably better than Chiapas because the one time I rode with the fire and the splashdown trough was really cool. But there's a lot of times when there's a few effects down in that ride. So if that happens, probably actually Wild West Falls at Warner Brothers Movie World. That's a really good flume. Express Thrills. I promise the yellow side is better than green on Stardust. The airtime is stronger and the celestial spin hits way harder. I definitely plan to hit both. Like I said, I plan to get to that park hopefully by the end of the year. But if not, I'll try to get there early next year. Uh, Adrenaline Legends. Do you screen things like airtime on a roller coaster? Or do you just sit there and try to stay quiet? I try to stay relatively quiet. I don't know. I'm just a little self conscious about disrupting other riders, which is why if I do like an on ride reaction, I don't really like to say too much unless it's like a media day when it's understood that's what's going to happen. Cool, crazy coasters. Will they give King Ka the Top Thrill 2 treatment? Unfortunately, no, because King Ka was imploded. Very sad to see it go down, but admittedly, it was pretty cool to see the footage of it falling. Andrew J, do you think there are roller coasters in heaven? Hope so. Cool, crazy coasters. Most intense dark ride you've ridden. Probably something like Harry Potter Forbidden Journey because of how much it flings you around. I have not done Monsters Unchained, which I've heard is a little more intense, but the only other one that would count is Tower of Terror if you count that as a pure dark ride. I know that's a little bit of a weird case, but if that does count as a dark ride, that's probably number one. Hello, Coaster Coder. Cool, crazy coasters. Thoughts on non-inverting Cobra rolls? Um, the one in Conda is interesting. I wish it was a little smaller so the snaps were harder, but it's still an enjoyable element. Interfacement. What TV shows do you like watching? I just finished Squid Game, which is a really messed up but very enjoyable show. Watch a lot of sports besides that. Alex Maxwell, pretty cool that Alpine Fury in reality is 2 seconds faster than the animation that was originally released. Yeah, I think hauls through the layout. Very good pacing. Vertical Loop, worst B&M coaster you've been on. I would say Apocalypse at Six Flags America before it got the updated trains. Jaden Herbert, Raptor Cedar Point is now my favorite invert. Fun ride, but I prefer some other inverts. Cool, crazy coasters. Middest coaster you've ridden. I'm not quite sure what would count as purely mid, so I'm not really sure how to answer that one. Sorry. Coaster Kid. What coaster do you think Wonderland should add next? I would say a high capacity family coaster because they have a pretty good collection of thrill rides, but they could just use another nice supporting family coaster. Adrenaline Legends. Rank the 5 strongest airtime moments at Wonderland. Only one coaster can be used once, so no cheating and doing 5 Alpenfury moments. I'd probably say the first drop in Leviathan. Um, well, you said strongest, so because I was thinking best. So you'd probably have to go with something with a pure ejector air time, and probably the first barrel roll in that fire serpent roll is the strongest single airtime moment in them park. Um, Trying to think what number two would be. I'll probably say Leviathan's first drop, and then Behemoth's first drop. Then Mindbuster has really good airtime in the outward leg now. Then five. Um, yeah, five gets a little tricky. Wildebeest has that hump after the first turnaround is pretty good, so I'll probably say that one. Actually, Yukon Strikers drops really good too, but again, that's floater. Where if you want the more like closer to ejector, Wildebeest has that. Coaster Coder, favorite SLC, definitely Great Nor'easter. You have the vest restraints, you have a smooth track, and the interactions are really cool. Alex Maxwell, as someone who has not been to many parks, how do Wonderland's operations stack up to the other big parks? They're very good dispatch speeds overall. The only thing I'll say that they're not as good as other parks. Wonderland's not the best with row selection, but in terms of dispatch speeds, they're pretty good. Brand Basil, have you driven the UK? If so, do you have any tips? I have. Biggest thing I'd say is try to start outside. Just avoid a city because that's a really stressful situation, even on the side that you're used to being on. but I had no problem on the highway and side roads because it's pretty intuitive. Because you're on the opposite side of the car, so it makes sense at that point being the opposite side of the road. Pineapple 46. Is Alpenfury the best coaster in Eastern Canada in your opinion? I think I prefer Goliath at La Ronde over anything at Canada's Wonderland, so I will go with no. I like trains. Do you agree that Steel Dragon 2000 is by far the most underrated Giga? I would say so, but the other thing I will say is it depends which row you're in, and since it's assigned, you really don't get to pick there. Cool, crazy coasters. Average screen time each day. Considering I'm on the computer nonstop for work every day, I'd say at least 8 hours minimum every single day. Jaden Herbert, which invert do you prefer, Raptor or Great Bear? I honestly prefer Great Bear. I just love the unique placement and it's really whippy. And I find it's a smoother ride. Pineapple 46, Wonderland over Kings Island. Do you agree? I do, and I think that might be a hot take because I know a lot of people even have Kings Island above Cedar Point now. Okay, Boomer yaps about coasters. What do you think will be the next accelerator coaster to beat the dust? Unfortunately, my thought would probably be Accelerator. I hope it doesn't happen, but considering what we've seen elsewhere in the Six Flags chain, that would be the one I'd think of, especially because that ride has had a lot of issues through the years. Adrenaline Legends, what do you prefer, Twisted Timbers or I-305? I prefer I-305, aka Pantherian, just because it's a more unique and forceful ride, but both are very, very good. Coaster Coder, out of all the videos you've had to make, which was the hardest one to make? Some of the reviews I've made have been pretty tough because I think like the Magic Kingdom review was like 40 or 50 minutes, so just the amount of stuff to cover was pretty in depth there. Barcelona, I have not been on the new Big Bad Wolf yet. Hope to get on it though. Coaster Filmer, what new coaster would you love to see at Darien Lake, Frontier City, Luron, Six Flags Mexico, and Six Flags St. Louis? So Darien Lake, um, that's a tough one because they actually have a pretty well-rounded coaster lineup. Um, I'd say just another smooth coaster with inversions. Um, Frontier City, I would love a signature coaster with ejector airtime. So, something like a Raptor would be great for them. For Laronde, a high capacity family coaster, Six Flags of Mexico. They could use another thrill coaster to complement their big two. And then Six Flags St. Louis, I want them to get that big signature ride with ejector airtime. Or, even if it's even if it doesn't have ejector airtime, like a hyper of some kind would be great for that park. Express Thrills, are you more hyped for Monsters Unchained or Battle at the Ministry? So I have not seen any POVs of those two. Um, I would probably say Battle at the Ministry based off the lines it's getting. I'm guessing that's the more revolutionary or innovative ride. But again, I have not seen any POVs, so I'm trying to go in unspoiled. Cool, crazy coasters. Favorite season of Squid Game? Um, Definitely one or two. Um, Probably one because they were able to complete all the games in that single season, whereas two and three are kind of essentially split up into one big season. H perm. I'm going to Six Flags New England and Lake Compounds. Any rides I should ride that are not obvious? I would say Houdini at Six Flags New England, especially if you've never done a Madhouse before. At Lake Compounds, I will say the River Rapids ride because it's at the end of this dead end pathway. So if you don't walk down there, it's easy to not even know the ride exists. Carl Heinbockel, do parks ever consult with you about what coasters or rides is shad? They don't. I think they typically get more feedback from the surveys that go out to a broader audience. Adrenaline Legends, do you like basketball? If so, what's your favorite player? Yes, I like watching the NBA. My favorite player growing up was Tracy McGrady just because of how super athletic he was. And he scored a ton. Pineapple 46. How do you travel so much? You've seemed to go to every park that gets a new ride, and Helios is better than Wiener Looping. I do a lot of traveling for work, so I can typically tack amusement parks onto the trip. So that's one way I get to do a lot of traveling. Shem the Gracehopper, best top hat moment. Ride to Happiness or Enzo? Um, I would go with Ride to Happiness. Coaster stats. Some of your favorite roller coaster YouTubers, small size, mid size, and well known YouTubers. I'm a big fan of looking up reviews of places I've going to or recently been to. Typically, I look for certain types of content over necessarily watching one YouTuber every single day. Pineapple 46. Do you listen to no copyright sounds music? If so, have you used their songs in their videos? I don't think I have because I haven't heard of them. Um, um, cool, crazy coasters. If you were in a random place and stumbled across a kiddie coaster, what's the maximum amount of money you'd pay to get the credit? For me, I'd say $15. Depends how unique or cool looking the kiddie coaster is. Probably I'd say like $10 would be the absolute highest, but wouldn't be happy paying that for just a pure kiddie coaster. Favorite Squid Game character? Maya Sang Woo, player 218, because he's the most realistic. Um, I mean, it's probably cheating to say 456, but I like what they did with his character. Pineapple 46. What do you think of Wiener Prater? I was just there and loved Black Mamba and Wiener Looping. Yeah, I love that park's atmosphere. I hate how it's so expensive because of the no unlimited wristband, but amazing flats, and they have some fun coasters too. Coaster Coder, favorite slab of concrete at Busch Gardens, Tampa. I have no clue how to even answer that. Sorry. Interfacement. Do you think Mach is the best manufacturer at this moment? I would probably say Vekoma because they can make glass smooth family and thrill coasters. Some of the other manufacturers have had like shovels and rattles, whereas Vekoma doesn't seem to have that. And Vekomas are pretty darn reliable now. Michigan coasters and more. Besides Falcon's Flight, what ride looks the best at Six Flags Qiddiya? I would probably say Colossus if it's gonna have a break the record for airtime on a wood coaster. Adrenaline Legend, you just started watching your 721 video playlist and coaster reviews. Started today and you've gone through 7 so far. Your streaming came, you got excited. Yeah, I put those playlists together so that way you can find the reviews pretty easily. Yeah, are you starting with the older ones first? Because you'll probably be able to tell when the microphone changes over. Jaden Herbert, have you ever made a virtual roller coaster? If you're referring to playing like Roller Coaster Tycoon or Planet Coaster, yeah, I play those games off and on. So I've made plenty of virtual roller coasters. Awesome coasters. Thank you for the support. Roller coasters with Charlie. Thoughts on pineapple and pizza? So my favorite type of pizza is just a plain cheese. So I don't like pineapple, so I would never want to put it on a pizza anyway. Pineapple 46. I have not been to Croatia. Alex Maxwell, is Goliath that much better than Behemoth? I prefer Goliath to Behemoth, assuming you mean the LeBron one, just because it's a glass smooth ride. Love the sight lines of Montreal as you're going along, and then just pure airtime start to finish. Cool, crazy coasters. If you could add a single rider line to any coaster in the world, which one would you choose? Um, I mean, Candymonium at Hershey Park's one that comes to mind because that ride's line is pretty bad if you don't time it right. What's another one that comes to mind? Yeah, I'm just thinking a lot of those coasters that have 4 across seating and have and I see empty rows going out when they have a long wait. Shem the Grace Hopper. I think either Stealth or Rita will be the next hydraulic to go. I hope Stealth particularly stands out, sticks around. Rita I could maybe see, but considering how Alton has trouble building stuff, I don't know if they'd want to rip it out though. Pineapple 46. Have you been to Adventure World in Perth? I have not. Adrenaline Legends. Do you think I should make a review on Coaster Peony with seatbelts? I'd say yes because there aren't many reviews of that ride out there anyway. So it'd be interesting to see, what the experience is like with the seatbelts, like you said. Jaden Herbert, do you get scared on roller coasters? Typically, I do not. Squiddy 360 is Alpenfury top tier or mid? I think it's definitely, you know, depends what you count top tier as, but it's an excellent ride. It's not mid. Coaster Mom, love your water park POVs. Yeah, I know there aren't too many water park POVs out there from other big coaster YouTubers, so I'm glad that content's appreciated. Cool, crazy coasters. When you visit abroad theme parks, do you try the local cuisine or just eat fast food? Um, I I definitely like to go to local restaurants over fast food places. I don't always eat the local cuisine when I say that, like like the unique local items. Sometimes I want like a burger or something like that, but I'll still go to a local place over like McDonald's. Pineapple 46, top 10 coaster manufacturers. Pretty hard to name them all off the top of my head, but stuff like Mach, Vekoma, Intamin, RMC stuff manufacturers make smooth rides are ones I prefer. Sometime frills. Your POV of the Knoebels high dive is the greatest POV video I've ever seen. Thanks. I know that one's all of 3 seconds long, but it's an attraction there. Cool, crazy coasters. I do not watch beach volleyball, so I don't know how to answer that one. Um, Sorry, I lost my spot. Michigan coasters and more. Have you ever had a park reach out to you over something you said in a review? Yeah, I've had some parks reach out to me trying to clarify or apologize if certain things go wrong. And then sometimes if I go to a park, they want the review afterwards, and usually they give usually they're happy with the review. Coaster Filmer, favorite video game in 2025. I'll go with Super Smash Brothers. Just a fun game to play with friends. Pineapple 46, how tall are you? I'm about 5'9". Jaden Herbert, Millennium Forces Cedar Point is a ton of fun. Yeah, I love that ride in the front row. Adrenaline Legends, favorite current NBA player and favorite team. So I would go with Boston Celtics and Jason Tatum. Hopefully he comes back from the Achilles injury okay. Pineapple 46, I've not been to Estonia. Cool, crazy coasters. Most frustrating theme park entrance you've had. I will go with La Ronde. The first time I went, it took, no joke, 2 hours to enter the park because of how long the queue was. Um, like the queue was insane. There were thousands of people in line, and they only had like two metal detectors open. Roller coasters are pretty cool. You went to Busch Gardens Williamsburg last week. It was awesome. Hope that park gets a new coaster soon. Do you think they need a thrill coaster or another family coaster? I would love a big thrill coaster that has a ton of ejector airtime start to finish. Something like an RMC like Iron Gwazi would be amazing. Um, Especially since they just added two more family-ish coasters. I'd like to think that the thrill coaster comes next. Pineapple 46. I already touched on this one, but for a YouTube channel, make videos you enjoy. That way, it doesn't feel like a chore. Base Shrine. Which country is a stronger top five? Canada or the UK? Um, let's see. I would probably say the UK now that they have Hyperia and Enzo, but it is pretty close. Sorry, I don't know how to say this next name, but it says hello from Japan. I don't know how to speak Japanese. I'm really sorry. Um, okay, Boomer yaps about coasters. What is the most confusing policy for filming you've seen at any theme park? So I've mentioned this one before, but it's when a park does not allow you to use a GoPro mount, but they allows you to hold the camera in your hand. I recently had that happen at the Dune water park. I think it's called Tiki Bad. So I want to use like the wrist mount for the GoPro, so that way it wouldn't risk coming off in the slide. They told me I could only film if I held the GoPro in my hand, which is a really weird policy in my opinion. Because if I were like to hit a slide at a weird angle, I'm 100% losing that. But they were worried about if it was on my wrist, it strikes the slide, which I think is more likely to happen if I were to let go. But that was the policy they had. James Fletcher, what movie would you like to see become a roller coaster? I'll go with Back to the Future, and it looks like it might happen at the UK Universal Park. Bram Basil, is Goliath at Great America still your lowest ranked non Raptor RMC? I would say yes, but that's just because it's a shorter ride than the others, but it's still a very good ride, though. Bob, Alton Towers or Thorpe Park? I prefer Alton because of the theming. Cornbread Nation, do you think we'll get RMC Timberwolf? I think it's more likely that we would get. I think it's far more likely we get some type of like Titan track or Gravity Group pre-track on there, um, versus them, RMCing it. Travel with Carmen just popped on the stream. Sorry if this is already asked. Any thoughts on the new Six Flags season pass pricing? Is it too good to be true with the lower pricing for 2026? Um, I'm still waiting to see what they do with the legacy memberships because they've been a little unclear what's going to happen if that's going to include the legacy Cedar Fair parks going forwards. Um, Definitely, the low prices are amazing for the consumer, and hopefully, those passes work out for people that buy them. Jaden Herbert, favorite classic arcade game. So I'm a big fan of just like the sports related games, but if you're asking for the pure classics, like Pac-Man and Frogger are two that I really like. Alex Maxwell, do you think Premier Rides will land more big ride contracts now? So if Alpenfury is a hit for the park and continues to have pretty good reliability for a launch coaster, I could see Six Flags working with them more because the old Six Flags chain had worked with them previously and seemed happy with their latest coasters, so it's entirely possible. Nick Lombardi, sorry, Nick Lombardelli. Thanks for the daytime stream. You're driving from Idlewild to Kennywood right now, hoping to get a steel curtain for the first time. Yeah, hopefully it's open. I believe it's been operating as of late. It's a fun ride, but Phantom's still my favorite at that park. Roller coasters are pretty cool. Have you ever been in a coaster accident? If yes, then I'm sorry. I've not been on like what you consider to be an accident. I've been on breakdowns, but nothing, dangerous or painful or anything. I have been on water slides where I've been hit by another guest. Like I posted the one from Miramar. It was the splash ride where someone else collided with me because they ignored the red light, green light system and went down when I was in the bowl. But yeah, so that's the accident I've been in. Barcelona, would you visit the National Coaster Museum whenever it opens? It's definitely an inconvenient spot for coaster enthusiasts to visit, but I'd like to get there if it does open to the public. Jaden Herbert, have you been on the boat ride in Niagara Falls? If you're referring to like Maid of the Mist, yes, I have. Definitely cool getting that close to the waterfall. Just make sure you have the poncho because you will get drenched. Cool, crazy coasters. Favorite airtime moment on a wacky worm. So the old one that used to be in Negoland, I had a lap bar that didn't work, and the brakes in the station didn't work. So that little dip out of the station actually gave an ejector pop under those conditions, which was very surprising. Cool, crazy coasters. Funniest coaster theme. Um, Vilda Hilda with the chickens, pretty funny, especially with the music that goes with it. Cool, crazy coasters. I do not like bananas or peaches, so neither. I like trains. What do you think is the best Gerstlauer outside of Carnan? I think Mystic at Wallaby Roan Alps has to be up there. I love the forces on that ride. So it's been an hour. My voice is starting to go, and I probably need to get going. So I'll just answer the last few questions I see. The last one I see is Nick Lombardelli's question about Swiss toboggan. So I'll answer down to that. Then I'm going to stop. Um, Jaden Herbert, funniest coaster you've been on. Um, I think it depends who you're riding with can make an experience funny or not. So it's hard to answer that one. Really sorry. Roller coasters are pretty cool. I do not listen to heavy metal music. Travel with Carmen. My first coaster was Rudy's Rapid Transit at Santa's Village. Jaden Herbert, guess on Hershey Park's new coaster for 2026. I would guess some type of family coaster, something from Gerstlauer or Vekoma with launches and hopefully decent capacity. Roller coasters are pretty cool. You're going to Spain next year. Any parks you recommend? In that country, the two best are Portaventura and Parque Warner Madrid. So hopefully you can get to both those. Nick Lombardelli. I was in a collision on Swiss toboggan at Little America, and my buddy's car went right through the brakes and hit me. I think when I went there, was might have been running one train, so that wasn't possible. But hope you're okay. I know that's not the most comfortable vehicle, even if it doesn't crash. So that was the last question I was going to answer. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. Thanks again for the continued support. I'll try to do this again when I hit a milestone. But yeah, have a good rest of the day. And if I didn't answer a question, feel free to put it in the chat. And I'll not chat the comments. I'll try to answer it. But thanks again. Have a nice day. Bye.